Part 3, Decimal Fractions.
In decimal fractions, an O has two names. If it comes before the decimal point, it's called naught. After the point, it's pronounced O. Numbers before the decimal point are said normally. 1, 2, 10, 13, 24, 200, etc. After the point, we say each number by itself. We don't say hundred, thousand, etc. E.g., 1.23, we say 1.23. Look at the notes. 0.1, 0.01, 0.002, 2.123, 41.005.
Exercise 1. Traffic at Britain's main airports. You will hear about passenger traffic at Britain's main airports from 1990 to 1993. Listen to the tape and write down the figures in the correct column.
Manchester Airport is the third largest airport in Britain. In 1990, it handled about 10.1 million passengers, and in 1993, the number of passengers increased to 13.1 million. In 1990, Glasgow Airport handled 3.9 million passengers, and in 1993, the number of passengers had risen sharply to 5.2 million. Birmingham handled 3.5 million passengers in 1990, and in 1993 the number of passengers was 4.2 million, not a big change. At Edinburgh Airport, the number of passengers was 2,005,000 in 1990. But 1993 it handled about 2,009,000 passengers. At Newcastle Airport, the number of passengers were 1,006,000 in 1990. In 1993, this airport handled 2,001,000 passengers. In 1990, Bristol Airport handled 8,000 passengers. In 1993, the number of passengers had increased to 1,001,000.
Look at the notes and listen carefully to me. We use percentages when we want to express a number more simply. Percentages means the number of X per 100. For example, there are 50 students in the class, and if 25 of them are boys, we can say 50% of the students are boys. The percent is said after the number. 20%, 26%. We can use percent with decimals. 7.02%, 0.51%.
Exercise 2. Household expenditure. Now listen to the report on consumers' expenditure in 1983 and 1993 at market prices and write down the percentage in the correct column. The percentage of household expenditure on food decreased slightly from 15.1% in 1983 to 11.4% in 1993. Alcoholic drink was 7.1% in 1983, but fell to 6% in 1993. And tobacco was 3.3% in 1983, but only 2.7% in 1993. The percentage on housing increased slightly from 15.1% in 1983 to 15.4% in 1993, and recreation, entertainment, and education was 9.2% in 1983, then increased to 10.1% in 1993. The percentage of consumers' expenditure on other goods and services showed a large jump from 13.5% in 1983 to 19.4% in 1993.
Exercise 3. migration. Listen to the tape and write down the total number and the percentage in the right column. Here are some figures about Britain's migration in 1993. There were 227,000 people who left Britain to live abroad. 25% of them left for other EU countries. 19% left for Australia, Canada, or New Zealand. 16% left for the United States. 13% for Commonwealth countries, and 6% for the Middle East. 2% of them left for South Africa. There were 215,900 new residents who came to live in Britain. 32% of them came from other EU countries, and 16% of them came from Australia, Canada, or New Zealand. 22% of them came from other Commonwealth countries, and 8% from the USA. 3% came from the Middle East, and 3% from South Africa.
Exercise 4. Interview about the earthquake. Look at the pie charts and listen to the short interview about the earthquake. Write down the percentages you hear. Last May 2001, an earthquake hit Nanaimo. We did some research on the local people about their feeling about earthquakes. We asked 2 questions. The first one was, do you feel that local schools are adequately prepared for an earthquake? 28% said yes. 32% of people said that they didn't know. 40% said no. The second question was, do you have an earthquake emergency kit in your home? 32% said yes. 4% said that they were not sure. 64% said no.
Exercise 5. British trade. You will hear a talk about British trade in 1993. As you listen, write down the percentages in the appropriate places. Look at 2 pie charts below. They give you some information about British trade by geographical distribution in 1993. The left pie chart is for exports, and the right one is for imports. Now let's look first at the left pie chart, the exports pie chart. You can see the European Union took a big proportion of Britain's exports trade in 1993. It accounted for 53%, and the other countries took 15%. Oil exporting countries took 5%, and other developed countries were 4%. North America took 14%, and other Western Europe countries took 8% of Britain's export trade in 1993. Now let's take a look at the right pie chart, which is for imports. The distribution here is similar. The European Union took 50% of Britain's imports in 1993. The other Western Europe countries took 12%. North America took 13%, and other developed countries took 7%. Oil exporting countries took only 3% of Britain's imports. The other countries took 15% of Britain's imports.